Hello and welcome to Stewarts Soundbites. It's my absolute pleasure to be joined today by Chris and Denise Arthey. I'm not going to spend too long introducing Chris and Denise because we've got a lot to get through today, but they're going to tell us a bit about their inspiring journey where they've overcome adversity following a road traffic collision in 2008. Chris has a background as an engineer in the oil and gas industry, and Denise as a school teacher. And I'll start with the first plug of the day. We can only cover so much in 15 minutes. So if you hear lots that you want to learn more about, please do look at the book from Chris and Denise that's probably blurring out on my screen now. But Highway 35, please do go and have a look on Amazon and you can see more about Chris and Denise's story. But we'll get straight into it. So on Friday, the 16th of June, 2008, I think you were fulfilling Chris's USA motorcycle road trip ambitions when you were very unfortunately involved in a significant road traffic collision on Highway 35. Without reliving those traumatic events in too much detail, why don't you tell me a little bit about what happened? And thanks for joining us.
No, thank you. It's good to be here. Yes, well, back in May 2008, we'd been in America for 7 months on a work assignment that I took, and for us it was like a second honeymoon. Just become empty nesters, flew to Texas, and settled into my new job. You were volunteering in a local school. And yeah, as you say, I've always been a keen motorcyclist, so this was my big chance to ride the motorcycle road trip. So we were on a Harley Davidson, as you do in the States, down near the Mexico border and the Rio Grande, and we were on Texas State Highway 35. It was 2:30 in the afternoon on a weekday, and a dead straight road, and a vehicle coming at over 80 miles an hour in the other direction veered across the road without warning and hit us head on. So we were in a head-on collision with a combined speed of over 135 miles an hour. Wow. The next vehicle behind us was a white truck, a husband with his wife on board. They saw this impact, explosion of motorcycle parts, 2 bodies flying through the air like rag dolls. So the white truck driver eased up to slow down and stop for the accident, but then they got hit by the vehicle that hit us, and the white truck driver almost died, and his wife was seriously injured as well. The chap who was driving the vehicle that hit us, he survived as well. There could easily have been 5 fatalities, but everybody made it.
An absolutely horrific collision.
Yeah. Yes, yeah, we really shouldn't be here. Fortunately, we don't have any memory of the accident. So what I've just said was a reconstruction when the driver was brought to court about a year later, and it turned out he was over 3 times the drink drive limit. So he'd consumed over half a litre of whiskey at 2:30 in the afternoon on a weekday. And so we heard the full story a year later in a courtroom.
Wow. And you sustained almost identical injuries, which is remarkable in itself. Tell me a little bit about your injuries and your initial recovery and rehab in the US before then kind of continuing your rehab journey at home in the UK.
We're both badly injured, as you can imagine. I mean, we are actually taken in his and hers helicopters to the nearest trauma hospital, which was at Corpus Christi. We both had severely crushed left legs. Mine had to be amputated straight away. We both had broken left arms and hands. My arm, unfortunately, was what they call degloved because I lost a lot of skin. We flew through the air and landed on our heads and both had concussion. I mean, Chris's was a lot worse than mine. Because Chris was at the front of the bike, he got the internal injuries. So he got punctured lung, broken ribs, ruptured spleen. So Chris was in intensive care unit for over 2 weeks, most of that time in a medically induced coma. But after 10 days, the leg was killing Chris. So our eldest, who'd flown out, the kids had flown out to be with us, he and I signed for the amputation. And that really marked the start of Chris's recovery. After a month, we moved to a rehab hospital, which was nearer to where we lived in Houston.
Yeah.
Obviously did lots and lots of therapy. But we were actually both home 2.5 months after the crash.
Wow.
And at the 4-month mark, really exciting, we got our first prosthetic legs. You can't wear them very long. They're really uncomfortable at the beginning. And then, of course, you've got to do lots of therapy and learn to walk again. Obviously, we were outpatients then. And the outpatient therapy lasted to the 9-month mark. And then we decided we were going to do a further year of chiropractic therapy because, we'd landed on our heads and damaged our spines. Anyway, we stayed actually in America for 4 more years, Chris going back to work. And then we had a 3-year assignment for Chris in Qatar, in the Middle East. So by the time we got back to England, we'd finished all therapy. We were actually mobile on prosthetic legs, and life was good. We could live back in the cottage. That was our big worry, an old 100-year-old cottage, and with, bathroom and bedrooms upstairs, bathroom upstairs, would we be able to manage?
And a big garden.
Yeah, and a big garden. And we were without wheelchairs then. We were well.
Fantastic. So you had 4 years in the US and then your 3 years in Qatar. Did you have any therapy and rehab in Qatar, or most of that being completed kind of by the time that you'd moved out to the US?
Yeah, there were really no prosthetic services in Qatar, so we were independent by then. By the time we moved to Qatar, I'd been back at work for some years, and you were back in the classroom. I was into endurance sports, so we'd pretty much finished our recovery by then.
What was amazing was that in America they put us on British knee, a British prosthetic knee.
Yeah.
And we said, who's this? Where did they make this? And they said, well, it's at Basingstoke. Well, that's not far from where we live. So it was just a miracle, really.
Yeah, so we're still using Blatchford prosthetic legs. And in fact, I did a day's work at Blatchford yesterday, helping testing new developments. And so we've still got that connection.
That was part of your journey, really, that's led on to you being Blatchford brand ambassadors, and we'll come on to that a little bit in a second. But so when you're in Qatar, did you how did you kind of go about your prosthetic maintenance and things like that, or did you really not have anything for that 3-year period?
Well, we used to fly home to the UK once a year to see the family and everything. And the visit would always include, at the start of our holiday, driving down to Basingstoke,
dropping off the leg,
well, they'd swap the knee unit out. It's the knee unit that really needs the servicing, and they would put us on loaner knees, and then at the end of the holiday we would go back and get our knees fitted back. 10,000 service, MOT, good for another year.
Yeah, amazing.
Yeah. Fantastic. So you've both undoubtedly overcome adversity, and you returned to vocations you loved, and you touched on it briefly there, Chris, in particular fitness challenges, brand ambassadors for Blatchford, and Chris, you've now got a unique insight into the world of prosthetics because you went on to obtain a master's in biomedical engineering. Yes. Can you tell us a little bit about kind of how you got back to what you loved and embraced new challenges?
Yeah, there was a key point in the November of the year when we had the accident. The accident was in May. So by November, we'd just got our first prosthetic legs, although we weren't using them that much at that point. So we were still using the wheelchairs a lot. And of course, we were going through this question, well, what will become of us? What does life look like now? And so we had a council of war with a very good friend of ours, actually somebody in our US church, who he does a lot of work with organization design, corporate motivation. So we knew Koji was the right man. So we arranged for him to come round, and we sat and addressed this question. Well, what happens now? And after having kicked it around for a long time, we came to the conclusion that what we really wanted was to get back to the sort of things that we were doing before the accident. So in Denise's case, that was being in a classroom, despite the mobility challenges, playing the piano despite the smashed left arm and hand, getting back into your music.
And gardening.
So all of those things that you really couldn't do at that stage, wanted to get back. I wanted to get back into my career, which I loved, engineering, project management. And of course, there was the endurance sports, which was now a little bit complicated with one leg. But we decided that we would do everything we could to get those things back. And we had each other. So we decided that we were going to support each other, pay the price, and do whatever we could. And so that was 2008. You look back and you think, it is actually remarkable how much we've managed to get back. And life is good. Most of the time now, we're really not thinking about being amputees. We're retired now, getting on with the things that we love.
I think that's the undoubted positive from your story, just what you've said there, because you summed it up in a nutshell. Life is good, and you getting on and living the life that you want to live.
Yeah, I think we learned quite a lot along the way, but one of the big things we learned was just make good choices. Good choice every day, because obviously at the beginning it was just, there's a wheelchair beside the bed. You've got to get up, get in the wheelchair, start moving around. And, if you keep making good choices, then you can put your life back together again. And I think one of the big things that helped us recover was the forgiveness. I can remember in the courtroom, the drunk driver came across the courtroom and got tears in his eyes. And he said, I can't give you your legs back. Can you ever possibly forgive me? Now, we searched our hearts. We never felt any bitterness towards him, and we had enough on our plates.
We were actually surprised by that, because a normal reaction is to feel blame, to throw guilt, to feel bitter. We sort of expected to feel that, but there was honestly nothing there, was there?
So it didn't hold us back, because we knew that if we went down that route, it would just harm ourselves, So actually, we're still in touch with him.
Wow.
Yes, we at the end of Chris's assignment in America, we went out for a meal with him and his wife, and we were able to reassure him, as far as we're concerned, he's forgiven, but he needs to find forgiveness for himself to move on. No, we exchanged emails. We visited him when he was in prison, and we've been back to Texas twice since then, haven't we?
Yes, the last visit was last year. Yeah, so it's 2025 and 2022.
Yes, and he surprised us at one of the meals. He said, well, when you're next in Texas, please come and stay with us at our house. I mean, we're just still discovering the remarkable power of forgiveness. I mean, he wrote us a marvellous email just saying, thank you so much, because he had some probation as well. When that finished, he said, thank you so much for your kindness and support, because he said it just helped me cope emotionally over the years. So, and I know the next time we go back to the US, we'll see them again.
Yeah, we hadn't seen him since we left America in 2012 until we visited in 2022, and it was really quite delightful. We met him in 22. We met him at the door of the restaurant, and we hardly recognized him. He slimmed down. He
just looked really well.
He didn't look like a drinker anymore. He had a sort of normal complexion. He'd grown a natty beard. Obviously, we're all that much older. But it's quite clear that he was remorseful, and he got hold of himself and put his life back together again. And we wish them all the best. You don't want more casualties as a result of these decisions that were made. So we're very happy for him.
I think the other thing that really helped our recovery, though, was the support we had. It was just unbelievable. I mean, Chris's company, they organised, for the flights for our youngsters to come out and be with us very early on. And, they arranged the hotel for them, paid for it, a car for them, gave them a mobile phone and said, you just stay until your parents are out of danger. Even gave them spending money. I mean, and our three kids never treated us any differently, which was marvellous. But, we had amazing support. We had a rota was drawn up between the church, neighbours and friends.
Help the Artheys.
Yeah, we had a hot meal every night. We had help to, because there was a lot of doctor's appointments, getting us there. There was even a rota for housework. Yay.
But somebody would come round every evening, and if we didn't need anything, they'd just sit with us and have a cup of coffee.
Which is probably the big thing. But we did have to change. Yeah, we had to change the meal rota. This was Texas. The meals were utterly enormous, especially for two recovering invalids.
One meal would last you for a week.
Yeah.
Can we make it every 2 or 3 days? Yeah.
Your absolute positivity shines through in kind of everything that you've done since. So kind of what's next on the horizon for you both beyond maintaining the garden in this sunshine?
Well, in the immediate future, on Saturday, I've got the British Para-Triathlon Championships, and that will be my 7th time at the British Nationals. So I'm 71 now. How much longer I can keep doing this, I don't know. But while I can, I'll keep on running and doing triathlons. But I suppose, what are we really about? I think we have this unique story, and our assignment is using that story to help people rediscover hope. And because through our experiences, we know that life doesn't always go to plan. It wasn't in our life plan to be our age, severely physically disabled. But we're not the only ones that are facing adversity. So whatever our audiences and our readers are facing, we pray that our story will help them to rediscover hope.
And I think that's a beautiful place to leave it, actually, because it's undoubtedly you have met disaster head on with hope. I've really enjoyed getting to know you both recently and reading your story. So I would encourage everybody that's listened to this episode live today and those that are catching up to go out and buy your book. And thank you both for taking part in this session. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.